Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 8 of this yoga practice. Today we will be doing a deep yin 60-minute, followed by, or including it, so it'll be a little bit longer than 60 minutes with the yoga nidra meditation to follow. Yoga nidra means a psychic sleep, and it is essentially a guided meditation. So before we come into the practice, let's come into the body, come into your breath, close your eyes, come into your natural breath, just start to wiggle around in your body. And if you're not comfortable seated in this position, then of course you can come up seated in a thunderbolt vajrasana position. You can come up against the wall. You can come up in any way that you feel most comfortable. And just a reminder that this practice shouldn't be for children or young people whose bones are not yet set. The ossification process has not happened in your body. Keep moving so you can still partake, you can still do the breathing. But don't hold the positions, keep moving through the positions, even if it's nice and slowly. As you continue to breathe very deeply, come into your belly, feel the balloon lengthening, deepening, dropping. You can put your hands on your belly as well. If you want to take a bit of a check, they should really fill out. And as they draw inward, spine and belly button connect. And as you inhale again, breathing nice and deeply, slowing down each subsequent breath and feeling that wave moving through the body. Making sure the chest, shoulders, throat, clavicular, thoracic regions do not move. They are still. The entire force of the breath is in that pump of the diaphragm. Now, before we come up too much into the ribs and chest, we're really going to use this as a bit of a pump. So not really a kapalbhati, not a fast and quick breath so much as that, but a deep sort of steady breath, similar to the one that the Wim Hof method uses. We will not be doing any kumbhaka or breath retention at this time, but this is just, again, getting the body highly oxygenated. If you feel dizzy or uncomfortable at any time, come down into a child's position or stop whatever you're doing. Of course, if you have any heart issues, palpitations, epilepsy, otherwise do refrain from anything that may cause you injury and me terrible bad feeling. So when you are ready, coming into the body, sitting nice and tall, lengthening the spine. And again, if you want to put your hands as a bit of a check. We're going to breathe nice and deeply, and maybe you can hear my breath. If you can't, I will use my hand as an inhalation, exhalation, but following the same rhythm and very strong. Imagine it's like you're doing lifts or squats, or you're really exerting that extension of the muscle. So when you're ready, nice deep breath. Continuing at this pace for another few seconds. If you do feel lightheaded, come down at any time. And even within this quick breath, trying to deepen the breath and still fill out those spaces. And when you're ready on your next exhale, let's release. Inhaling, arms up, shoulders down, eyes of the elbows open, tips of the fingers touching to the top. And exhale, palms facing downward and slowly coming down. You can shift the legs at any point if they start to feel uncomfortable. It's not a challenge or a competition. Inhaling up. The definition of asana is slow, steady, comfortable. So if at any time you are uncomfortable or indeed in pain, stop whatever you are doing. Continue with that big balloon sensation in the belly as you inhale, diaphragm moving downward, and you can feel a little bit of a burning sensation. You might even detect a bit of a flavor in the mouth. Notice if there's any symmetry between that kind of burning abdominal sensation and any flavor change that's happened in the mouth. On your next inhale, coming up, we can get to that later. And with the left fingers coming down to the opposite temple, tenting or flattening the palm, nodding that chin to the chest, positive mantra echoing through the body. And again, this is one of the nicest positions to start with, not only because it gets us right into that deep tissue in the neck and shoulder, which is often where many of us are nice and very, not nice and tight, too tight, not nice and tight. But also it gives us that chance to really feel those mini little intricate muscles. There's so many of them, dozens of them all around. And all that fascia, all of that fiber, just follow. Where can you find its parameter, its length? And on your next exhale, keep falling to that same side. Fingers melting off of the temple. And breathing those three motions. If this is your first class with me, up, over, and back, three kinds of sensations. And that sensation's not just coming from the fingers, it's coming from the shoulder. So the more you lift that shoulder up, you give movement and privilege to the rest of the arm. And breathe into it. Feel no difference between the movement and the mover. Come into your body as you exhale, coming down into our first twist, flattening the palms. The first few breathing movements will just work out any of those kinks in the body. Inhale, arms all the way up to the sides. And exhale, same thing on the opposite side. So we'll finish this little opening series, bringing the opposite arm down, and then we'll come into some really deep yin. So today, our minimum hold will be 2 minutes, unless we're doing a transition pose or just kind of moving according to what our body feels. Because, of course, at any time, as I said, any discomfort or pain, come out of it. If you have any surgeries or past injuries, be mindful of them. I am your guide. Your body is your teacher. With your next exhale, dripping the fingers downward, lifting up. And again, those three flavors of movement, each having so much distance potential. You can favor one or another, but don't forget the three together. That is where you will get the full mobility, particularly in those rotating joints. So much fascia hanging those bones together. You really think about what's happening in the body. It's quite both miraculous and magical. And exhale down. Oh, and I see we've got little Yodi here. Hi, Monkey. She's had a successful surgery. 9 teeth were pulled out of her teeny tiny little mouth yesterday. She's still a little drowsy, although she's always a little drowsy. Twisting with everything you've got, twisting being that very deep tissue, digestive. And again, not only digesting the food and the thoughts, but really wringing out each and every one of our individual internal organs. And on your next inhale, windmill, sunshine, those arms all the way up. Both arms out to the side, shoulders down, eyes of the elbows open, interlace the fingers behind, lifting. Once you are up as high as you can go, once you feel the shoulders both moving downward at the socket and upward at the wrist. So again, a dual motion in that one limb. And exhale, forward fold with a nice straight back. And once you've met your edge and your back begins to round, well, let it round. Exhale, let the heavy head hang down. And breathe here. We'll stay here for 5 deep breaths. Keep lifting those arms from the fingertips and dropping them down from the shoulders. Squeezing the shoulder blades together. Relax the legs, relax the feet, relax your bum. You can play with the hands, either keeping the palms together or stretching the fingers out. Also, what's important is what's happening in the shoulders. And on your next inhale, slowly shifting the weight upwards. Release the hands, give them a bit of a jiggle, wiggle, bounce if you like. And we'll come into just a tiny little back bend, not too much of a yang. And if you have sore wrists, you can come down onto your forearms at any time. You won't get a bit of a, or maybe as deep. Well, you know, you might, and you can always put yourself up on a few blocks or a pillow or a bolster, or what have you. Nonetheless, let's just counter stretch those hips, and you may have tightness and a bit of a popping here, so fingers away from us. Open palms, remember, always strong open, pressing that first knuckle in and chin into the chest. Inhaling, lift, push your hips forward. Try to keep your knees opening. Squeeze your bottoms, that's your bum. Squeeze tightly, hips forward, chin into the chest. Don't forget about your hands. They're pushing. What's happening in your shoulders? Also pushing down, eyes of the elbows open. Relax your feet. Breathing deeply, balloon in your belly, making you softer and lighter. And exhale, coming down. Oh yeah, feel those hips popping. And inhaling up, arms all the way. And let's exhale with a nice straight back as far as you can go, and then rounding it, walking the fingers forward. This is going to be our first yin hold. So we are going to stay for about 2 minutes, so get comfortable for that. If it's tiresome on the hips, as I've said in other classes, you can raise your hips by sitting up on a block, a pillow, whatever height is going to keep those knees down and the hips nice and relaxed, so they're not contracting and so they're not painful. And then that also eases a little bit of pressure if you've got tight knees. And of course, adjust yourself if you need to. Bring yourself into a more open position. That's absolutely fine. So wherever you find yourself, get comfortable. Be sure that you are on your edge. The edge being 70% or so of your full capacity. You don't want to strain. If you do feel a very tight stretch, or a tight pinch, come out of it a little bit. We want to let the body hang here. As I've said, forward folds are positions of submission. But one word that I haven't introduced that is another frame for thinking about it is surrender. And of course, surrender has different meanings. It can mean to give up. You surrender, you win. Or to give in. And of course, you can contemplate and philosophize and wordsmith the difference between the two. But ultimately, you are just coming down into a deeper place that's well over a minute. We'll hold it here for another few deep breaths. And again, that surrender, giving in, is letting go. It's not giving in that same sense of any sort of connotation. It is all letting go of what we think ought to be. On your next inhale, slowly using the hands if you like, walking back up, and you feel that stiffness. It takes time to get into those deep, dense tissues of the fascia, the connective tissues between the limbs, the bones. So exhale and just put a little bit of pressure. Oops, a daisy. Put a little bit of pressure on the lower back. And you can lift the feet here. We're not going to do much of a rock and roll quite yet. Just sit right on the edge of your lower back or of the sacrum of the spine. Feel your pelvic bones and hips just kind of melting into the floor and adjusting your back if you'd like a little bit of a movement in here. The ankle's a bit of a stretch. It can get tight in there sometimes when we don't notice or when we're not moving, of course. Fitbit stocks aren't doing too well these days, I guess, with everybody being so stationary. But it's important to still move our limbs. And when you're ready, we're going to inhale, lifting, and start to open the legs. We're not going to balance here for too long. So just try to point the toes and bring the legs down to a comfortable distance. They don't have to be as wide as mine. And again, bringing something up to the hips or under the hips will raise them and ease any tightness that you're feeling here. You do want to be mindful of the backs of the knees, pushing downward. Feel how that activates, right? Feel how many different causations and sensations can be happening within the body, but such subtle differences, such subtle changes brings an entirely different reaction to the universe. And hello, hi there. I see a couple messages coming in. Sorry, I don't see them clearly, and they're so far. But hi, Gary, and hi, Grace. I believe it's too far. Anyways, once you've found your edge here, inhaling, arms up, shoulders down. And exhale, we're going to come into a forward fold. So again, nice and straight. Imagine you're reaching out for me or whoever's in front of you. In fact, if you do have someone there, this is a great pose to do with two people. If I had someone in quarantine with me, I'd have a demonstration where they would be exactly here, and then we'd be able to pull each other closer and do that kind of seesaw thing back and forth, nice and slowly. No pulling of the hamstrings or busting out of those hip sockets, please. No more additional stress on the hospital system. But when you're down, lengthen the arms, breathing. Again, this entire practice is focused on surrender, surrendering to the circumstances of our life, millions and billions of trillions of peoples who have lived and died. And it is us who are here now, for what reasons we know not, but we trust that there is balance in the universe, balance in the processes. We're going to hold this position for we've been here for just over a minute, so we'll hold it for another minute or so. As I said, this is a deep yin practice. The aspect of yin, of course, means to be slowing it down. It's that softer, more gentle, more feminine side. And with all of the yang type of masculine energy, it doesn't mean men, but masculine type of energy in the world, it's important to bring in a feminine type of energy. Reminding yourselves we are mere drops in the ocean. What we do, what we say, what we think, what we feel, what we live, what we give goes back to the greater ocean instantly. Taking another few deep breaths here. And when you're ready, we're going to stay down nice and low and walk over to the left side. So trying to stay as low and don't let the hips start to lift. If you find them lifting again, put a bit of compensation underneath whichever hip is coming up to make them centered, balanced again. Otherwise, just ease in a little bit. So once you've found yourself, trying to get the belly as close as you can to the top of the thigh. And once you've found your position, we'll stay here, not quite as long, but still enough time to get into that deep connective tissue. As I said, it does take time to get into it, to get past the muscles. The muscles are easy to stretch. But it takes time to surrender that, just let go, that every breath, physical sensation, get deeper into your body. Those waves of rotations of consciousness milling through your physical self, releasing any tightness and tension. And continuously letting go. Once we can let go of that macro skeletal muscular part of the body, we can get into those deeper connective tissues. And that's very much where we need to be. Taking another few deep breaths here. And if you'd like, we can even go in for a bit of a twist. So bringing the opposite hand to the outside of the opposite ankle. And coming in for a bit of a twist and a lift. Inhaling as you do so. Isn't that a nice kind of self-chiropractic situation? And exhale, sweeping the belly back to the torso. Stay nice and low. All the way across and walking the hands to the opposite side. Get comfortable here. Feel the difference? You feel those little... It's amazing how quickly the body tightens back up. And remember, the fascia, as they're discovering, has different textures depending on our mental state. They are just doing it's been around for a long time, but that sinew, that, they've known that when they're peeling it off cadavers, it's a physical thing, but they haven't really paid attention to how important it is until recently. So as we move into these positions, it does take time to really get into the depth and realize the greatest benefits, because it is in those seats of the joints where we hold our deepest emotions, where we hold our deepest tensions. We can, and I saw Katie wanted, she's coming to say hello and play, of course, and she would know, right? Telling us about deep tissue and other types of tissue. And, the different layers of experience in the body goes deep into the bones. The bones are alive. As I said, this practice is not for children because we are holding. Even as the bones are alive and changing their cellular structure, our deepest stress is not only as individuals, but as a human race over millennia of evolution. Our deepest tensions have indeed formed the way we've evolved. So we can work with that on your next inhale. If you want to come out to the back with a bit of a twist, try to keep your hips squared, balanced, leveled. And exhale, sweeping back down. And as you inhale, bring the legs in. We'll come into a butterfly. Soles together, bouncing the legs. You can hang on. If you have a strap here and it's a bit tight to hang on, this is a nice kind of thing. And even if you have a strap and want to open this up, roll around if you want to. Bounce the legs out. Let the chin come down to the chest here, dropping the shoulders down and just sitting nice and tall. They have told us that sitting tall is a difficult thing to do. That postural exercise. And of course, that is not our natural form, right? We don't sit tall like this. We have those 4 natural lumbar regions of the spine. Stretching them out. You can bring the chest forward a little bit, maybe turn this into a bit more of a back bend. If you're grabbing onto the feet, maybe now grab into the ankles. Trying to lift a little bit higher. Again, shoulders always dropping down, making space between the ears, breathing nice and deeply. And I'm sorry, I should have said at the beginning, we will be requiring a block for this practice or some kind of lift, whatever it is. Even, if you are, again, with a partner, if one of you is in a child's position, you can keep doing that. But for our next pose, if one of you is in a child's position and the other one comes back and kind of does a bit of a back bend over you, but of course you would be over and just kind of doing it. I'm not going to do it to little Yodi. She's just had surgery. I'll get Yogi in for the next next one to see how well that'll go over. Anyway, so what we're going to do is keeping the legs exactly as they are, unless you got to get your block because I didn't tell you. And we're going to come in again to a back bend chest opener. So we've done one already in the upper back shoulders between the shoulder blades where we can even kind of squeeze in and connect with the block. We've done one a little bit lower yesterday. So here today, I'm going to introduce one like really to lift your hips. So right at the base of your tailbone. Okay, so here, depending how you want to get into it, I like to get into it just by coming down first and then lifting up and bringing the block just around my lower back. And again, it doesn't have to be high. It can be on the low one, the medium one. Play with just having it sit there with your legs like this, just that pressure. There's something about pressure, right, on the body, that proprioceptive stimulation that, well, I guess it's a bit more tactile and kinesthetic. And anyways, however you'd like your legs to be, whether they're bent or whether they're coming out, make sure your block is nice and stable. Oh, yeah. I'm going to get a big neck or a tailbone crack here in a minute. It's going to be amazing. So we are going to hold this for, Well, I don't know. I just might not come out of it for a while. Continuing to breathe nice and deeply, lifting your belly. Continuing to drop the shoulders down. And really release here. We hold a lot of tension in our guts, in our pelvic area, and in our hips. This whole area of the body. And if, of course, at any time you feel discomfort or pain, come out of this position. Otherwise, like me, you can think of how you're going to ask Bob to make a bed that you can sleep like this. Bob is my father, for those of you who don't know. Bit of a jack of all trades. Continuing to breathe up. Let the hips flail open to the side. Oh man, this is such a rewarding pose after sitting at a computer all day long. Oh boy. So of course, during this very interesting time, as we've all shifted to our online selves, let's get digital, digital. Come on and get. Okay, all right. It's very important to keep those brain breaks. I was in a webinar this morning where someone actually has a alarm. I'll get the app, and if anyone's interested, I'll send it to you. But it's like an alarm that goes off every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever you want it to be set at. And it says, okay, now you're going to do 10 push-ups. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Dave, for the push-up challenge. Thanks. I'm it's on the list. Holy moly macaroni. I'll do it. Just give me a bit of time. Do 10 push-ups, crawl across the floor like a crab, hop like a kangaroo. And of course you can make your own. That can be a really nice creative game as well. We're going to start to get ready to get out of this. So this is going to feel pretty intense for those of you who have remained here with me. And of course, for those of you that haven't, any of those other compensation, I got to get out of this. I'm losing my speech. And on your next inhale, so bringing the legs back up, coming and removing the black block. And again, you are going to feel like your body just turned 87 million years old. And bring those knees up. You feel that powerful, effective movements. And hold the knees in. Start rocking. And here we are going to take our rock and roll. But stay here for as long as you would like to stay. And again, this is a massage. Oh dear, I almost forgot about little Yodi. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, Yodi. Am I ever glad you snorted just now? Just kind of like a little goose when she sees Canada geese flying in the sky. She stops and looks like it's my long lost family. Oh. And again, if you'd like to come up and focus on any one given spot where you might feel an extra bit of attention is required, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we're going to come into a bit of a squat. This is going to be a bit of a yin transition. We're not holding it unless you want to stay here and do arm balances. Otherwise, just bring the heels in nice and tight as you can and try to bring the hips forward. So opening the legs to the outside and kind of pushing everything through, keeping the feet flat, toes pointed forward. Just try to push through. Again, a bit of that crab walk even, right? Just kind of try to come up. Everything kind of lifting without lifting your bum off the floor, the tailbone off the floor. Just see how tightly you can kind of come in. Again, I mentioned the great and beautiful Valerie Jeremijenko. Fantastic, talented woman. And this is how she would often begin her very intense evening Ashtanga yoga practice, where I would inevitably turn into a piece of macaroni. What's with the macaroni today? Taking a nice deep breath here and really drop the diaphragm down. On your next inhale, we're going to shift forward. Toes or feet should be out at a 45-degree angle. Really try to drop those hips down, elbows to the inside of the knee, palms together, each finger also mirroring itself, making sure every point of the palm is lined up. Great power in the creators, those hands, those tools that we have at the ends of our arms. We could have grown anything there. Let the hips drop down, let the tailbone really round forward. That forward pelvic tilt, helping to open the hip, keeping the shoulders down, chest is open, breath is deep. Relax the feet, relax the legs. This is the birthing and the pooping position. All of us go to half of those places. So as you continue to breathe here, getting ready to shift the weight forward, I'm just going to move so I don't squash my little puppy. And on your next exhale, bring the hands forward and deepening that pose. Jutting the chin forward. This is nice facial yoga, working on all of that skin in the neck, chest, the face. Keep it active. There's muscles in there. If you don't use those muscles, not only by talking, doing other things, but stretching them, lengthening them, activating. Check out Facercise Facial Yoga. I have a really good friend, Monica, who's a fantastic facial yoga instructor. I'm sure she's doing all kinds of online stuff right now. She's gorgeous, amazing skin. She has all kinds of secrets, I'm sure. On your next exhale, if you would like to come up into the balance, of course, you can at any time shift the weight. This is the easier of the Bakasana balances. The more difficult, of course, is coming up into the armpits, which I'm not going to do after doing those wonderful yin positions because I'll probably break my wrists. Which, by the way, let's stretch them out for a minute. So coming down onto your knees, turn the hands around, tops of the hands, tops of the palms, tops of the other side of your hands should be on the ground. Palms facing upwards. Shoulders down. Again, open the eyes and the elbows here and feel that difference. Feel that stretch in the forearm. That's a real difficult place to get at. So even while you're here, start to twist your wrists, do like half little, however far you can. Where's your edge? Where's your parameter? Where can you go? Okay, and releasing the wrist, giving them a bit of a shake if they need to do the same to the ankles and toes. So curling the toes under. Don't forget about that little baby toe that's about to fall off because we're devolving. Put a bit of pressure as much as you'd like. And again, if you'd like to come into another bit of a balance here, you're still essentially getting that same stretch. Do try to stay up and lifted. Don't just fall into it and say, oh, I'm balancing. Stay really active. And if you're finding it quite easy, come into a bit of a, a toe balancing chair position, or, variations until you're essentially doing a backward complete back bend. Okay, so whichever position you find yourself in, and again, that may be terribly painful and uncomfortable for you. If it is, do stop. Releasing, turning the feet around and lean back. Oh yeah. Keep the knees together, shoulders down, chest is open. And breathing here, rock on it, feel all of those. Again, whenever we come to the joints, those cruxes, those special places of the crux, here, 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 anytime the joints connect, there's so much tissue there. That's where we've got to go. That's where your bones will fall off of each other. That's not taken care of. You will be injured. It will crack. The fascia changes quality to a liquid gel state or a crystal ice state, depending on essentially your mental state, but also how much you've moved it. And it's not just don't imagine just one layer of fascia. Oh, let's come out of there, sorry. And let's come into a child's position. So coming forward, tips of the toes together, opening the knees, and so tips of the toes together, opening the knees as wide as you're comfortable. We're going to stay in this child's position for 2 minutes. So inhaling, arms up, shoulders down, and nice and slowly you can walk the hands, pull yourself forward, and get ready to stay here for 2 minutes, breathing nice and deeply. And we're going to hold this, as we do, of course, remembering your breath. Feeling those waves rolling along the spine. Feeling the belly coming between the thighs. Pushing the palms downward, relaxed but active. Walking the fingers forward. If you find space, take it, reclaim it. Let space and place come back into the body. Relax your feet, relax your toes. Shoulders down, always down, lengthening the neck, creating space. Feeling the stretch all through the arms, down the armpits. That's 1 minute. We're going to hold this for 1 minute longer. By now, we should be feeling the phase change. The chemical reaction happening in the body, the hyaluronic acid being released from the joints after about a minute of holding these positions. And that is a chemical that essentially revitalizes every cell of the body. It's a rejuvenating process, and it's that which allows you to keep your disciplined rascality, which is arguably the most important quality any human can possess. Taking another few deep breaths here. And on your next inhale, with a nice round back, lifting up and walking the hands, walking the knees together. And we're simply going to come forward with our left leg first, and we're going to come into a pigeon position. So bringing the leg forward, and again, however your openness or tightness of the hips allows, find your place of comfort. If you would like a bit of support or taking more of an Iyengar yoga approach, Iyengar yoga, of course, is using all the props. You can take a block, put it under the lengthening leg, or block under the opposite bent leg. Or if you're feeling pretty balanced in the hips, allow your head to come down You can use this, again, that pressure. It's giving that relaxation to the prefrontal cortex. And that's exactly what we need to be happening at this point in time. This type of breathing and this type of practice allows us to tap into the functions and features of the parasympathetic nervous system. And that communicates with our DNA, which is in constant evolution. We know not, we see not how quickly these things may change, but these things are changing. Simply because the taste of life that we get is all that we really can see and understand. We do not feel the whole greater context inside which we play a very small role. On your next inhale, we're going to come up, roll onto your hips, and through butterfly, we're just going to roll over onto the other side. So, coming down, finding your pigeon position, lining up the hips, locating your blocks, bringing them in if you need them. Otherwise, exhaling, coming down. And this is one of the best, deepest hip openers that we can get at. So really take a moment to bring your entire focus into where you feel the tightness in the hip, and just focus on that sensation of exactly what is happening in that joint. Again, where does the muscle begin? Where does it end? You can roll a little bit side to side, although we do want to find stillness in the yin, stillness and time combined with intention. Those are part of the tenets of the practice of yin yoga. And even in this position, relaxed but active, lengthening the spine with every breath, extending with every exhalation. We'll hold it for a few more breaths. And really feel your body melting into the pose. And 2 minutes is not really that long once you get into a yin regime. And I hope that these sessions in the last few days have been able to help you do that. Because yin should be categorized as a different practice. It's not yoga even. It's a deeper, it's not to be explained in such a capacity. It's to be experienced, and really finding your physical self. You find yourself. The quality of your life improves. Again, I dare not try to define the experience as it may be for you. But whatever your destiny shall be, will be found through the practice of yoga, of yin, specifically yoga. On your next breath, when you're ready, slowly coming up and coming over onto that bent hip, into a butterfly position just for a moment of transition. You can flutter if you utter. But otherwise, let's slowly start to come down. You can hang on to your ankles or use the strap or kind of hang on to your legs. And just kind of try to keep them in, keeping them open. And as you keep them together, keep the knees moving outward. Keep a force moving against the soles. Lengthening the back. And really trying to find that space. If you have a strap here, keep it close. If you don't need it, you can use just your hands. But let's inhale, left leg up, right leg out. Holding again, you don't have to be holding onto your toe or foot. You can use your strap, creating any amount of distance. It can be at a lower angle as well. It doesn't need to be up at 90 or greater. Wherever you feel comfortable, trying to keep the whole mid-body lined up, hips, shoulders, all the dense tissues melting into the ground. And exhale, dropping your leg out as far as you comfortably can go. Don't let your hips and shoulders lift off the ground. If you feel them lifting, that is your edge. That is where you stop. And we're going to hold here for about 5 deep breaths and let it hang. Let your shoulder and your arm lengthen. Let your leg and your knee open. Let them both work against each other for the stretch. And of course, unless you're really open, both leg and arm are probably not flat on the ground. So, of course, you're getting that resistance, that bit of a bounce from little Yodi. Getting a bit of that resistance, so not only that tension of the back and the inside of the arm, but also the side of it staying elevated off the ground. On your next inhale, let's lift all the way up. This is going to be a bit of a yang pose, so if you don't want to do it, just stay here. Otherwise, both hands to the back of the ankle. Inhaling, lift. Knee to the nose, and exhaling down. Changing hands, so opposite hand to the opposite foot. And again, if you're using a strap, wonderful. Otherwise, try to get the hand on the outer edge of the foot and exhale downward. Now here, inevitably, the hip is going to come up. That's fine. Inevitably, the spine will twist and the shoulder will follow. It's also fine. Just do so with a bit of control. And then once you've found your edge, come into that twist and relax, turning your head to the opposite direction and breathing very deeply here, focusing on your lower back, that sacrum region, the seat of the Kundalini energy of the body. Kundalini is a power that we all have, an energy that we all can tap into. We don't need to know how, we just have to breathe and stretch the yin fascia movements. On your next inhale, we're going to unravel this twist, bending both knees as we do so, and coming into a figure 4 or reverse pigeon, looping the arms through. And if you'd like to stay more relaxed here, keep the head down. Otherwise, coming into a bit more of a rounded spine, bringing the knee to the nose. Shoulders down. Breath is deep, always imagining and remembering that balloon in your belly. And on your next exhale, do the same thing on the opposite side, releasing and switching legs. You can bounce the two or just feel the difference or just switch them up. So taking the opposite leg, holding it up, using the strap or the blanket, and exhaling, coming all the way or as much as you comfortably feel, coming up or rather down. And let's breathe here. So again, you want to feel all the different stretches happening in the body. So much, so many moving parts right now. Try to bring your consciousness into the fingers that are stretching, or the hand that is holding your strap, the wrist, the forearm, the elbow is opening, the bicep lengthening, the shoulder is dropping down. You're also getting a stretch in the opposite of the side body as you put a bit of resistance, a bit of a weight. Also getting a stretch in the hamstring, all of those muscles surrounding the knee, down into the ankles, the calves, the ankles, even that big toe if you're hanging on, getting a stretch. On your next inhale, coming up. If you do not want a yin or yang, that's fine. Lay here. Otherwise, inhale up, knee to the nose. One quick breath, changing hands, and exhale, holding to the opposite side. And of course, while you're here, if you want to bind it a little bit more deeply, you're welcome to grab onto that opposite leg. Again, you can use a strap here if you like. Inevitably, our hips will lift here. But keep reaching and arching in the opposite direction. Keeping the shoulders aiming down. And if I were there, or if you've had a Thai massage, and I am a Thai masseuse, imagine someone pushing on your shoulder here and this hip here and giving that twisting, lengthening. You know what I'm talking about? And that crack. Beautiful rainbow crack up your spine. Oh, hi, monkey. What's a monkey's bum? In my face. And when you're ready, let's inhale. And crossing the leg over, coming into a figure four position. And we'll hold this just for a few breaths. And again, whether you want it a bit more active or relaxed, it's completely up to you. This is not passive. You are pulling at a 70% capacity. But finding space and fill that space with freshly oxygenated blood, making new places in your body, new avenues for your breath to travel through. And when you're ready, on your next exhale, release. And arms out. We'll just let the legs flail over to a nice twist to one side. Keep the knees tucked in tight. And let's inhale and allow our twist to fall to the opposite side. Keep the knees at the same bend. Now as we inhale up, let's cross the knees over opposite legs and keep that same twisting, motion. Nice massage in the lower back. And when you're ready, release the feet, release the hunds, bringing them down and coming into a Shavasana position. Close the eyes, soften the breath. Relax the body. Every inhale, the body becomes softer and lighter. Melting into the ground beneath you. Focusing exclusively on the breath and how that breath gives you weightlessness. As you continue to breathe, follow the breath as it travels up your body into the rib cage and feel the expansion of the rib cage. Feeling the space being created between each intercostal muscle. Feel the elasticity of your ribs, the grand protector of your lungs, the main engine of our life. Allow your consciousness to rotate through the body, scanning for any places of tightness or tension, be it physical or mental, spiritual or otherwise. And as you exhale, release those tensions from your body through your breath. Visualize them leaving, returning back to the ether from whence they have come. On your next inhale, keeping the eyes closed, heart soft, breath deep, mind open, body relaxed, spirit strong. Very gently begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Allow your head to turn to the right, pressing the ear to the earth, and to the left. Inhaling back to center, arms overhead, interlacing the fingers again, folding to the left side and to the right side. Exhaling down, inhaling, knees up. And you can take your choice here, finding stillness, rocking side to side, up and down. Making small circles in the knees will massage the lower back, changing directions. The bigger the circle, the deeper the massage up your back until you are basically doing a shoulder stand, massaging your shoulders. And when you're ready on your next inhale, exhale, keeping the knees in. Coming down to the right side, using the right bicep as a pillow. In this original yoga position, the one that we all held for 8 or 9 months, hopefully, coming into this world prior to. Take a minute to thank those who have helped you. Take a moment to send your energy to those who are suffering. Allow a smile to come across the face. keeping the energy that you need for yourself to continue. When we're ready, gently coming up, back into a comfortably seated position. Reminding yourself that the effects of the practice will continue long after we leave the mat. Taking a moment to feel the effects of the practice on the body. Sitting nice and tall. Relax the feet, relax your legs, relax your bum, lengthen your spine, drop your shoulders down, open your heart. And as is traditional, to close the practice, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Atma Namaste. Remember, you are not the body, you are not the emotions, you are not the mind, you are the light, you are the eternal, you are what is, what was, and always shall be. Wash your hands.